All right, we're gonna. It's coming along, folks. It's coming along.
Here we go.
All right, we got Craig. Oh man, there's a lot of people. We're getting started in just a minute. I promise.
I'll do the welcome message.
Here it is. I get this posted. My sharing capabilities here. It's like I've never done this before, guys. It's the first time. All right, we'll get cooking in just a minute. Which one we want here? There it is. That's what I was looking for. All right. I do want to do one thing while we're doing this. Welcome, everybody. I am going to do something live in a little bit. So I'm going to get try this a little bit. Mouse. I want to change my mouse settings so that they're larger. So you guys can actually see what I'm pointing at. There we go.
Wow. Attendees 105. It's growing.
Yeah, it's coming in. We're
coming in. They're all coming in. They're coming in the house.
Come on, they're all coming. It'll be good. Raphael, you here? Rafa.
Yes, sir.
There he is.
Raphael, good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
Hi, Raphael.
Hey, Sally. Dave, I'm unable to join. It says unable to start.
I know. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. I need to get this back up and going, and I can resume my share. There it is. Now I got to get you elevated. I don't know what it is, man. Every once in a while, let's see if I can get you there. Co-host. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How many we got? 127 so far. And I think that's going to grow. I know that there was a bunch of folks that signed up yesterday. You there, Rafa?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you.
Telling my sound guy to move out of the way.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Pay no attention to the sound engineer in the background.
So everybody's talking about your song yesterday, Dave. You're getting requests.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. What Sally's talking about, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Talk about that later. What we're going to be talking about today is we have $1.5 trillion in the 2022 budget. In case you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, we have 171 days left. We're in the last 180 days. All of this money has to be spent by 9/30/2022. There's a lot of stuff happening in infrastructure, right, Sally?
That's correct. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Cybersecurity, nothing going on in cybersecurity or modernization or environmental or any technology at all. Nothing. But actually, there's a ton of stuff happening. So if you want to win, you better start now. If you want to participate in this whole event, you can chat. This is where we're going to share our docs. And Zachary, you can drop some docs in there to show how that works. And if you have any questions, we're going to do raise your hand or the Q&A. Where's Greg?
Right here.
There he is. Hold on a second. I got to get you elevated too. Sometimes Zoom makes our lives difficult. Good to see you, buddy. So if you have any questions, pop them in. You can either raise your hand or you can pop them in the Q&A. And oh, by the way, if you've been living under a rock and you have no idea how Zoom works, you can go up top there and select the side-by-side mode and make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. You are in full control. And speaking of the handouts in chat, you will see the Winnable Opportunity Matrix. We'll be talking about that today. Our capability statement, VA procurement readiness, and the 90-second challenge. And we got to get yours in there, Raphael, your procurement readiness stuff.
It's almost ready to go. That's right.
Almost ready to go.
Graphics team is finalizing and putting the finishing touches on it. You'll have it by next webinar.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the CEO of Gsa Federal. We do data marketing and help with the business development, pushing your stuff out there. And if you have not heard about us, we've been around since 2009. We have over a half a billion, Rafi, half a billion. And we do that with market intelligence. We'll show you a little bit about that today. And that starts with getting smart about the marketplace. Then you can reach stakeholders with GovBrief. We push that out to program managers as well as buyers. And in fact, we have a boatload of stuff happening in April. 4/14, that's this week, right? This week, right? Thursday is Jason Moy talking about bid, award, and protest. If you're wondering how those work, he's a lawyer, so he can talk lawyer stuff. And then on the 20th, I'm up at 11 a.m. and Greg Clark's up at 1 p.m. We're doing sole source contract justification and approval, as well as unsolicited proposals. Both of those feed each other very well. And then on the 27th, we have micro purchases, anything less than $10,000. But this guy will show you how he's done millions of dollars through P cards. Crazy how that works. And if you're interested in doing business with the Navy, my buddy Steve Pimpo is going to be there, a Naval Academy graduate, former Deloitte guy. So he knows a lot about the Navy. If you sign up for 2, you save $100 on those. And you can see that on GovBrief. We will talk a little bit about today with the advanced monitoring platform with AMP, with sam.bid, which monitors sam.gov, as well as the awards. And you might be saying, why in the world do I want to monitor awards? And I'll tell you why in a little bit. I promise we'll get to that. We can also monitor Gsa Ebuy. If you have a Gsa contract, you can go to QuickFuse, QUIKFUSE.com. And guess what? You can test drive that for 30 days. And if you stay for a year and you don't get 5 times as much as you spend on QuickFuse by winning stuff on Gsa Ebuy, you get 100% of your money back. How do you like that? With us today, we have the doctor. Dr. Marrero, who helps with federal contract branding and socioeconomic certifications. We're going to be talking a lot about that today. He's going to take the lead on helping us, and he has a guy there named Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about you, Rafa, before we get into your stuff.
Sure. So my firm, thank you for having us, Dave.
Yeah, man.
My firm is Rafael Marrero and Company. We launched our consultancy following years of experience in the large Fortune 500 procurement and supply chain solutions world. I was the chief procurement officer for a large publicly traded company and also worked in charge of vendor management, supplier management. So I understand what it takes to get vendors and contractors ready for large engagements and to enter the big leagues. My organization was directly responsible for vetting talent and products in excess of $1.6 billion a year in $1.6 billion in procurement, both direct and indirect procurement across all categories for the enterprise. We bought everything from trucks to professional services and contingent labor. So my organization is a consultancy specialized in helping contractors like those on today's video call in how to do business with the world's richest customer. We help you get your ducks in a row, and that's the metaphor that we use. So we look at people, process, tools, the 3 little duckies. We look at your messaging, the way your brand looks, and we basically get you ready to present the best version of you before contracting officers, program managers, supplier diversity liaisons, et cetera. That's what we do. We help you with contractor branding to get the right message and look the part. Socioeconomic certifications, which may qualify you for small business set-asides and even sole source opportunities, Dave. You can compete in a market where no one else can play. You get your own private stadium to play. And also SBA 7A and 504 loans. Those are our specialties. So if you need some help along those lines, give us a call. And Jonathan Serrano is our business development manager. He's on the call today. And that's his direct information right there. Jonathan is available to answer any of your questions following this webinar.
You got it. And we'll have some polls to help you connect with Raphael as well. Also with us, we have Greg Clark with DKA. He helps with proposal writing, Gsa Contracts. Tell us a little bit about you, Greg, and what you do.
We formed DKA in '95. 3 of us formed the company. There's 6 of us now. We formed to help companies respond to government RFPs, preparing their proposals after going through the bid, no bid process, determining which projects to pursue, and then helping you pursue them. In that capacity, we're at 398 contracts we've helped our clients win with a combined value that is now in excess of 2 billion.
2 billion, billion, 2 billion.
2 billion.
And we've also helped about 435 companies get on the GSA schedule. So those are our 2 primary areas.
Yep. And so what I love about Greg is he loves the paperwork, not me. I'm not the paperwork guy. He's the paperwork guy. So that I really appreciate you being here. And oh, by the way, April 20th, just another plug for Greg. He's going to be helping with unsolicited proposals. So you might be asking the question, what is an unsolicited proposal and what does that mean and how can you use it? And Greg and I will be talking about that on the 20th. So I appreciate that, Greg. We also have with us the Uber connector, the LinkedIn maven, the social media lady. That would be Sally White. How you doing, Sally?
Well, thank you. Nice to see everyone. Wow, 184 people. I put my information in the chat. So once you sort of figure out your brand with Raphael and his wonderful team and get aligned there, and once you sort of discover your competitors, et cetera, through Dave and his team at ISI, and figure out what proposals you want to write with Greg, then what I do is I help you connect with executives in the Navy, the Army, other entities to connect you with that. And I also make sure your LinkedIn pages and all of your branding is consistent across your website and your other social media platforms. And then once I do that and you get ready to have a contract, you might be, wow, how am I going to fulfill this $2 million contract? How am I going to make payroll? Then Peter, which he'll talk about, helps. So I connect with everyone here and that's what I do.
That's what she does. Awesome. Thanks,
Morning.
Sally. Peter Timbus, tell us about you, Mr. Founder TFN.
Well, we're celebrating our 31st year of financing government contractors. We'll lend to your opportunities. So whether you're a brand new company or you're an existing company that has a lot of revenues, we will provide you the funding to perform on those contracts. So once Dave Lowe, Raphael, Greg, and Sally tee it up, we'll show you how to really swing the club to drive that ball down the middle.
There you go.
We've got probably around 300 clients nationally. Since we're talking billions, we did 2.5 billion last year and
2.5 billion? Come on,
billion of financing receivables last year. So we're good at what we do, and we'll be there to provide, assuming you can get your contracts, we'll provide that funding to grow your companies.
Love it, love it. Thanks, Peter. And we'll tee you up for you'll wrap this thing up because you're on the tail end of everything that we do. Brian's not going to be with us today. He has his own with acquisitionhelp.com. He has his own briefing on CPARs happening right this minute. So he won't be joining us, but he and I connected, a former CMS guy with just a crap ton of information and knowledge of doing stuff from the inside. So that's this guy. He's an author and wrote How to Market and Sell to the U.S. government. So he's a good guy. So, but he's not going to join us today, but you can reach out to acquisitionhelp.com if you want to talk with him. So about this session, it's always free. We have over, I think it's 3,700 or something now registered, and some come and some don't. It's okay. We do it for free. And if you don't like the fact that we're going to be talking about our tools and how things work in the government and showing off a little bit, just remember what you paid for it. But today we're going to get real about how things work in this space. And we're going to talk about the marketing tools to push you out there. Raphael Morero is going to be talking about capabilities. If you missed the session, you can go to YouTube and you can see us and over and over and over again. We do this once a month and we have different topics that we bring up. And if you're here today and you're looking for active opportunities, you're looking to reach federal stakeholders, or you're looking to see anybody that touches this universe of the government world, that is why we're here. Today, we're going to be reaching out and talking about contracting officers and specialists. We'll tie a little bit into program managers and project managers, as well as how you look to prime contractors and teaming partners, because your capability statement, Raphael Morero, matters to those people too, doesn't he?
Absolutely. It's the single most important piece of marketing that you'll have in your arsenal.
Yes, sir. And so quick disclaimer for those of you who are with the government. I don't know if anybody is with the government today. If we have anybody from the government, this enables them to be able to speak to us and dialogue, as this was created for us from GSA. It's not affiliated or endorsed by GSA, and everything is voluntary and you don't have to purchase from anybody. There you go. So let's figure out, why are people here today? What do you think? What do you think people are going to say, Raphael?
Some nut send me an email.
I'm here.
They want to see
I'll
Dr.
bet you.
Ferraro.
I'll bet you. Let's do this right. Oh man, and this big mouse thing is I'm going to use it to present in a little bit. So what, are you new to federal contract? You have federal contracts as a sub. You have federal as a prime, and you want to go, whoa, we have a bunch of folks that are prime contractors. That's fantastic. That's awesome. And we have folks that are new. And while you're filling that out, if you're new to the federal marketplace, it is a new experience, a new perspective, and you need a new business approach to be able to do it. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, this game is different than the commercial game. Am I right, Raphael?
Totally different. Everything
Totally.
is different. The language is different. The marketing is different. Positioning is different. Everything.
Everything is different. So if this is true, then you cannot play the federal game the same way you do B2B or B2C. There's a lot of similarities in some instances. And guess what? People still buy from people they like. They still do right here, too.
Are you whispering?
So, because when you whisper, people pay attention. That's why. All right. So what is the game? How do you play? How do you win? And guess what? This game is not played the way that you want. It's played by the way they want and the way they want it. So take yourself right out of the mix and let's talk about what they want and how you can get in the game. So let's talk about this, Raphael. What do buyers need from you? And I'm going to show you Raphael's information right here. And Rafa, he's a doctor, by the way. He's a doctor. So we'll say Dr. Marrero from here on out. Tell us, Rafa, what do you think about the branding and what the federal folks need to see from these folks here?
Federal branding and contractor branding is all about marketing and positioning your capabilities. That's the big difference. It's not about bells and whistles. It's not about feeds and speeds. It's about what you can accurately deliver on, right? And so I like to have a communication strategy that focuses on what I call the 6 C's. And if you want to hit the next slide, Dave.
Yep.
We're parting with the basic here. This is the building block, which is your capability statement. It should be no more than 2 pages, 1 sheet of paper, double-sided, in high resolution PDF format, and the nomenclature, the naming convention should always be your company name capability statement.pdf, right? Don't call it a brochure. Don't call it a product specifications or anything, because they're looking for a capability statement. Now, a capability statement as a contractor should have 6 sections that I call the 6 C's. If you're not capturing the 6 C's, then you are doing yourself a disservice. Number 1, you need to have a succinct and brief capabilities narrative that neatly encapsulates your high-level elevator pitch of who you are and what you do, what you're going to do for the federal government with taxpayers' dollars if they choose to hire you. Number 2, the codes, right? You got to have the codes. Everything is boiled down to codes. It's NAICS codes, right? Your North American Industrial Classification System codes, your product supply codes, PSC codes, right? And you need to have your previously DUNS number. Now they have a unique identifier with SAM, but you also need to have on there your cage code, okay? If you don't have your cage code, they can't look you up in the system for award management, see your status, and also reference past performance and other things. Also, it's helpful to let them know, just like a resume, your corporate resume, your capability statement, that you're speaking their language and that you can do for them what you've done for others in the federal space. So it's good to have your list of customers that are in their arena so that you can provide relevant past performance just at a very high level to pass that initial hurdle. Also, your contracts. How do they write it up if they choose to hire you? Do you have a contracting vehicle that Greg and his team put together for you? Do you have a GSA schedule? Do you have a General Services Administration or multiple award schedule? Do you have an IDIQ or a government-wide acquisition contract that Greg and his team put together? This is very important, okay? Also, your certifications are very, very important. Socioeconomic certifications, okay? Do you have a small business classification Can you qualify for small business set-asides as a veteran-owned? If you're talking to VA, you better have a veteran-owned, or DOD, veteran-owned. Are you a woman-owned small business or an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business? If women own small businesses are the call to action in their acquisition strategy. This is very important. You must also have clear delineation of what your core competencies are, right? Don't oversell your capability to deliver, and clearly state what you do, because if you oversell it, the government representative will know right away. They will label you as a newbie and someone who really doesn't understand what they're about. And that's disrespectful and inconsiderate to their time. And also, most importantly, you must have your contact information. How do they reach out to you? Do they call Dave Lowe? Do they call Rafa? Do they call Jonathan, right? Do they call Greg? Do they need financing? Call Peter, right? I mean, these are the things that you would be amazed at how many clients leave out their point of contact information, Dave, on this very important piece of information.
It always amazes me when I see capabilities that are not well done, the things that are missing and the things that they think, because they want to put themselves out. Oh, we do everything under the sun. We have 642 NAICS codes that we operate under. Bad idea. Bad. Focusing on something that you're really, really good at. Very, very important. You mentioned several things here, Rafa, I think that bear highlighting. Your customers. You mentioned customers in the federal space. That's the number one piece, right? So where can they get the comfort level, right? Safety in numbers, if you want to consider it like a psychological piece, but how do you make them comfortable with you? Are they going to buy from you just because you have a good capability statement?
No, they're going to call, but they're going to be inclined to contacting you. It's like a good resume to get you that interview, right?
That's
now,
it.
If you blow it in the interview, then you're done, right? Right. But this is why it's important to have your ducks in a row, like our logo states, right? So what we believe is this is that first influence point, that first point of contact. So you need to have a good, polished, buttoned down image. It's very important. It's like sending someone your resume and having a typo on it, or having a discrepancy on the dates of employment, or having incomplete information about your educational background, or simply not qualifying for the position, right? Like sending them a capability statement about rocket science and they're buying milk, powdered milk. These are the pitfalls. These are the things that you must avoid in order to harm your possibilities of successfully entering the government space. And I speak from the vantage point of someone who managed and manages vendor risk management. That's at the core of what we do, right? All new prospects are high risk. You need to look inside the hood. You need to open up the hood and see what they've got in the engine. You need to see what they're capable of delivering, right? New equals high risk always. So from a vendor risk management perspective, you need to be able to mitigate those concerns upfront by properly aligning your capabilities with their needs. This is fundamental. You cannot overlook this. If you don't get past this hurdle, you're not going to make it to the second and third stage. So what we do is we focus on your capabilities, your capability to deliver on time, within budget, and to provide a scope compliant solution, right? So think of us as a communications and management firm that specializes in helping you launch successfully into the federal space to help you get your ducks in a row. And this branding is of the utmost importance. Now, we're not just talking about going out and hiring a communications firm that does beautiful graphic design. No, you need to understand the naming conventions, the titles, the lingo. You need to speak government lingo. You need to understand if you go to some fancy graphic designer, but they don't know what a GWAC is, they're not going to know to include the services that Greg Clark and his team can deliver for you, right? Or what Sally White can do for you, right? This is what this is all about. It's all about proper positioning, right? That initial positioning is what we excel at, and we do it better than anybody in the market, not to toot our own horn. That's why for several years now, we've been on the Inc. 500, We've been voted among America's best 50 workplaces by Inc. magazine and top government services providers by Inc. magazine. So we do this and we do it very well.
Yep. And that's why it's really, really important, because so like Sally was saying earlier, we take what you give us and we push that out into the market. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because we all want to reach them too. We need to identify them and reach them. But this is a key piece. And you also help with capabilities decks, so that when they have presentations, they look like they belong as well. The whole thing revolves around looking like you belong. And you have another little secret that you do with business cards too. What do you do with business cards, Rob?
See, we prepare business cards to look like miniature capability statements, okay? They should have the 6 C's in a aesthetically appealing and concise manner. So what we do is we look at the front and back side of the card. Sometimes we do folding cards, which are very, very good, because if you have an expanded list of PSC codes that you offer in your specific industry, that first business card on a non-glossy paper, right?
Why non-glossy, Rafa?
Because they want to write on your cards when you're at a trade show or you meet someone, and they can't say, call this guy or call this lady about, she's certified and she's very qualified, and they're going to put that business card away, right? So you need to have the right presentation, the right medium, the right paper, and everything down to the right information and how you portray it. So we do capability statements, we do capabilities briefings, which are the decks that you must deliver during a specific amount of slides and the right information, right? Following business communication etiquette in the government space. And this is what you do when you go in front of a contracting officer or their representatives. You've got the interview, right? Now you've got the resume, they got you the interview, you passed that first goal, right? And then now you're there, you have to deliver an expanded version of your capability statements with more meat and potatoes in it, right?
Yep.
But it cannot be, Dave, and I can't stress this enough, it cannot be death by PowerPoint.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Cannot be death by PowerPoint. Another thing is, it cannot exceed, in the case of capability statements, Dave, they can't be more than 1 megabyte in size, because I've seen beautiful capabilities statements that are 20 megabytes and they get stuck, or they get spammed because of the size and they get flagged. So keep all of these technical nuggets in mind. And if you have any questions, we're here to help. We also do contractor websites. Okay, very important. A commercial website is very different from a government contracting website and should contain specific information that is relevant to your new client, because you're talking to the world's richest customer, right? But they're not going to buy from you unless you pass this initial sniff test. And if you don't look the part, you're not going to get the interview. You're not going to get in front of someone.
And you actually help with your SAM records too. So
that's
here's,
right. We do
here's
content tune-up.
What do you need? You need Rafa to help pimp your SAM, because that has to look like it has to align with your capabilities as well. You need a rocking capability statement. How about socioeconomic certifications? Or you need something else? Get to Raphael. Okay, we're going to open it up for questions. What do we got for questions here? Do you have somebody who can help me with CS? Alison, what is that?
Absolutely.
Capability statement.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be.
Dave.
I'm sorry. That is an abbreviation I didn't understand.
So,
All right,
Raphael, Shelley Sorrell says, can you use, she saw your example and saw that there's agency logos on the capability statement. She had heard that you can't use agencies' logos.
Well, that is all. I mean, we clearly, if you saw the slide, we have a disclaimer there that is only for informational purposes and not to imply any commercial endorsement on the part of the government. So we clearly spell that out. Now, if a specific government agency has a problem with you using it, then remove it, right? And use their name and make sure that you index that capability statement so that it is searchable when they're looking for you, right? To see if you have experience with those agencies. Again, the most important thing is we map the agency information to the specific services that you've delivered. If you have relevant past performance that is that's public information, public record, then you can tie it back and demonstrate that this is the case, then why not? You're not doing any harm. It's important though to have the right disclaimers on there. And wait, and one more thing, Dave. The SBA has specific criteria on when and where to use its logos. And we can
Correct.
help you comply with the SBA's rules.
That's
because
correct.
there are specific platforms that where you can use the SBA icons and logos, and there are other platforms where you cannot. So to avoid the pitfalls, contact the experts.
That's right. And he will go through it. I can tell you that I've never been smacked down by anybody by using the logos.
Dave, there's a question for you. Once all their ducks are in a row and they have their numbers and their paperwork, what's the first step in getting in front of buyers?
Well, now that would be a good setup for my next thing. Thank you, Greg. We will get to that in just a minute, I promise. How can I be a sub when participating on bids? That's a great question, James. A lot of different ways to be a sub. You need to inject yourself into the conversation, certainly with the people that are bidding, and that's a tough one to find. But we can give you some ideas on that too. So I'll give you some ideas on that in just a minute. Sharice says, schedule my call. I need it all. There you go, Sharice. You will get a call. I promise. All right. DUNS are being replaced by unique identifying number. You are absolutely right, Shirley. They're already replaced. And UEI is just another one of those things. All right.
But Dave, I would not remove the DUNS number, because the DUNS number is still used to run financial. In other words, if you're bankable or not,
Right.
your DUNS number is like your social security for businesses.
Yep.
They're going to run a DUNS number if you're going to go get a loan, no matter what. So you need your DUNS and you need your federal employer identification number. It's good to be thorough and have the right information on there.
Love it. And if we don't have any past performance except small commercial companies, Michelle, that's exactly why we're here. Because if you can start injecting yourself into the conversation, people still buy from people they like. If they like you, they'll figure out a way to buy from you, won't they, Greg Clark?
100%.
100%.
Just adding to that, you
Yep.
can also align with companies that do have past performance and create some partnerships. And I know Raphael is very astute at helping you do that as well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So Shirley, great thing for Julie. I'm putting both my literature DUNS. You put both on your until it's completely dead, and it'll be a while before it's completely dead. And FYI, government logos are public domain. We pay for them out of our tax dollars.
That's
They
right.
can't stop you, but they can stop you from lying or overstating your role, but not using the logos. Love it, love it. I agree with you there. Charles, is there a process for veteran-owned certification? There certainly is. Rafael Marrero knows how to do that, don't you, Rafa?
Absolutely. We have great track record working with service-disabled veterans and veteran-owned small businesses. And by the way, Dave, I know that there was a big backlog of HubZone certifications. We recently were able to get a HubZone recertified in 9 days, and we have proof of that. So just so you know, we have a 9 days, the recertification done. Yeah.
Very cool. Douglas says, where do I find out the acquisitions in digital health, specifically in the area of patient safety? Any ideas? I have great ideas, Douglas, and you're setting me up as well as Greg did. We'll do that in just a few minutes. And then where do I find my identification number? You can find that at sam.gov, Mia. You can find that there. It's automatically updated, and you can't look it up by DUNS. I can tell you that. Shirley says use both. I like that. And thanks, Dave. I have all the certs and just don't know how to navigate to meet the primes. James, you're setting me up too. Love it. I appreciate it. Scott, does it make sense to add government purchasing page to the website? Someplace you can add the 6 C's and the capability statement from Scott Walters. What do you got there for them?
Well, what we do is one of the recommendations that we do is tying your contractor website, a specific URL, to your DSBS profile, right? So what we do is in your dynamic small business search profile, we make sure that we reference everything that you need on there. And then we tie that URL to your website to the specific landing page. The specific URL where the government can look to give them a brief overview of who you are, and then downloadable version of your PDF that we can also design for you. So how you like them apples? We can do
How
that.
you like them apples? That's a beautiful thing. And I got one more from Mike here. Sorry if I missed his capability statement uploaded to a Gov database, Sam, etc. No, They do not have the capacity to do that. You need to do that for yourself and make sure you're marketing to the people, which gets us to this next piece. Thanks, Rafa. Great stuff. I appreciate
You got
it,
it.
man.
You got it. My pleasure.
Session handouts. You have the Winnable Opportunity Matrix, so you have access to that. I'm going to run through that really quick because this is kind of the layout of what we use for how this works. Is building relationships with the stakeholders. That's on the right-hand side, and understand that each one of these people have different ways of making their decisions. Your objective in every instance is to drive them into the green by meeting what they need, not the way you want to sell it, right, Rafa? It's not the way
That's
you
right.
want to do it. It's the way they want to see it. And we're going to be talking about the contracting officer. That's this guy right here, or this lady, contracting officer. Then you have your program manager, your technical representative. You mentioned that earlier, your core, depending on COTAR, depending on the agency. And then you have your administrators that are SES types or directors. They're higher level in the organization. Some of those are political appointees. Many of these are career bureaucrats, though, and they are the ones that run everything. So the most important thing to think about is this is modified from Miller Hyman's Strategic Selling. If you haven't read that book, great, or taken a course, fantastic. But if you look at this, anything in the green, they're favoring you, right? So kind of like this, you're okay. You know, you didn't step on my shoes in the elevator, didn't spit while you talk. You're okay, right? Then they kind of like you. Hey, I think you know, Rafa looks pretty good in those blue glasses, and they kind of like you. Now 3, they like you a lot. They say, hey, I really think that you have the capabilities to do what we want. And then 4 is a coach. So if you think about somebody that's willing to help you navigate through a particular opportunity or particular areas within an agency. And then 5 is a champion. That means they're taking the flag and they're running up the hill. You don't have to have champions and coaches to win. You just need to be in the green and making sure that they're knowing. One real quick thing, there is no 0, there's no middle. If you don't know who they are, they're all the way at the bottom. That means that if you're thinking, oh, this is a full and open competition and it's on sam.gov, I have an equal chance with everybody else. No freaking way that's true.
Nope.
They don't know who you are. They don't have any concept of what you've done. They don't know you at all. And they do know your competition. So that's where you get into the other part, is if you flip it upside down, they're favoring the competition. And if you don't know who they are favoring the competition. They already are buying from somebody. They already have relationships. So they're already favoring the competition. And Rafa, you mentioned it. Better the devil you know from a risk standpoint, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what we're going to be talking about is moving the buyers, also known as contracting officers, contracting specialists. The difference between a contracting officer and a specialist is the contracting officer can bind the U.S. government with a contract, have warrant capability of anywhere from $150,000 all the way up to unlimited. They can bind the country, the U.S. government, with you as a contractor. You want to drive these folks into the green. Specialists don't have that ability, but they do manage contract information and data. So here's the deal. They're busy, or at least they think they are. They're not going to teach you how to do business with them. And you landed on this one, Rafa. They are risk averse and they don't like new things. And you said it, if you're new, what is it?
You spell risk. You're high risk.
You're absolutely high risk. And if they don't like high risk, then that means they don't like you. And if they don't like you, they're not going to let you into play. And we're going to show you some things in a minute of how they operate. They're experts in moving paper. This does not mitigate the fact that they're not, well, they don't understand the fact that I'm a great architect. You're right. They don't care how great an architect you are. They're experts in moving the paper and selecting the purchasing mechanism, like you said, Rafa, with IDIQs or BPAs or GSA schedules. They're the ones that choose that. They're the ones. That's why Greg is so important, because he loves the paperwork, and he helps. They are going to select the purchasing mechanism they want to use. Sometimes they're mandated to use them. And then once they do make the award, they develop the contracting documents, and they do want the fastest way to do it. fastest route, and easy is good. So what's your job? Your job is to make it easy for them and value them. I cannot tell you how many people, Rafa, have told me, well, the contracting officers, they don't matter because they don't understand what I do. They only spend millions of dollars. That's all they do. Right, Rafa?
Millions and billions of dollars. I mean, government
billions.
spends more than any other Fortune company in the world. More, I mean, per hour, per day, per year. And you're talking to the right people. You're talking to the people that have binding power. That's important.
Yep. And Susan has what's the best way to contact contracting officers? But normally they're not the decision maker. You're right. They're half of it. They're half of the decision maker. They're the ones that are going to determine whether it gets set aside for a small business or woman-owned or 8A or HubZone. They're the ones that make that determination. And you do need to reach out to the program managers, Susan. That's correct. And they're not easy to find. None of these people are easy to find. And that's why we exist. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But one of the things that Sally, you brought up, and Sally being the Uber connector, is making the connection and leveraging LinkedIn. And you couldn't have set it up any better, Susan. You've been using LinkedIn and introducing me to what I do. That's what you do as well, right, Sally?
Absolutely. And you're right. It's sort of a scavenger hunt with LinkedIn. So one of the things that I do first is go to the entity's leadership website, whether it's VA or Homeland Security. They all have websites where they share their leadership teams. And you're right, some are not connected on LinkedIn. However, you can do some Google searches and find them mentioned in articles, or they'll mention someone else. And so it's really a kind of a scavenger hunt. And to me, it's very exciting once you get to that rear admiral general, or once you get to that director. And Dave's group really is helpful because they can show you exactly who is buying, who's spending, $90 million a year on the particular product you provide. And then you can look at those contract managers, program managers, and through AMP, which he's going to share, it tells you exactly who they are and what their numbers are. So it's sort of a overall ecosystem, no pun intended, an ecosystem strategy where you can get to who you need to do from all different angles.
Love it. And you help folks with that process too, because a lot of times people, either they don't understand, I call it, what do you call it? I call it stalking. What do you call it?
I call it being a service partner and seeing how we can support people, and being a friender, not a vendor. I put my Calendly in the chat. So any friend of Dr. Marrero, Greg, Zach, Dave, and Peters is a friend of mine. And so one of the things that I do is I offer 15 minutes, 20 minutes to kind of look at your website, look at everything, and then I can refer you and help focus you. I tell people, even if they wanted to pay any of us $25,000 a month retainer, we can't do everything. It's too large. So it's really important to focus on what you need most to get what you need to sell to the government. And more often than not, it starts with Dave and Dr. Marrero.
And we will do it for half that, 25,000.
Yes, half that. But happy to guide you and connect with you in that way.
And if you want something if you need something from Sally, she can help get your LinkedIn in shape, your engagement message, your web presence, something else, call me, and then we'll get to some other questions. I do have a question here. I did ask that question, Mike, do answer it. I thought, what different website? I think it's really more of a landing page. And then when you send all your govies to the landing page every time you do it.
100%.
All right, we're going to get in. I haven't done this, and I'm not sure that my big arrow is going to be showing on this, but I'm going to try something a little bit different because people have asked a lot of questions about how to find buyers, and we have two different ways, and actually one feeds the other way and both directions. So I'm going to talk about ISI Federal Market Essentials. So bear with me for just a minute as I share. I'm going to stop this presentation and see what happens here. Hopefully I'm going to go to this one here and share this screen and get rid of this and get rid of that. There we go. Can everybody see this? And I'll give you another 5 seconds to respond to Sally, so this isn't popping in here. And I'll answer this question. As a bid for bid contract manufacturer and supplier with no dealer distributor agreements, I've never been sure that we're a good fit for a GSA contract. And Greg's typing an answer, because how much does it cost to talk to you, Greg? after you unmute yourself?
Nothing.
Nothing. All right.
And it's
Super.
if you look at my phone, people know that it's just ringing nonstop because it's free to talk to me.
Yeah, it's free. That's exactly right. My favorite 4-letter word.
Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna show you this. This is, and speaking of that, you actually saw, it's funny, Rafa, you pulled up the sample capability statement for SSI, right?
Yep.
Yep. Well, this is their intelligence. So this is a portion of it anyway.
Mhm.
So if we take a look at this, we see this is their primary NAICS code, right? And that's where you have it in SAM. You pick your NAICS code that's aligned with what, Raphael, is your primary NAICS code aligned
with your performance, what you do, with your business
what
activity.
you do, right? So, and you'll notice there's no money here. It's only $42.9 billion. And this is 160,000 contracts over the course of 2 years. Okay. So 160,000 contracts make up this 42.9 billion. Average contract is 268,000. These 4,995 companies won, ladies and gentlemen, this $42.9 billion. Let that sink in for just a second. These 4,995 won $42.9 billion. Now I'm going to show you something that you probably will, if this doesn't blow your mind, you're probably in the wrong place. These 7,331 people spent $42.9 billion.
Can I get their names, please? Can I get their names?
You can get their names, as a matter of fact, by going right here to the contacts, and you can see, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people. Tina Marie from the VA, and guess what? We do have her email and phone number, but Tina Marie spent $1 billion over the past 2 years. Allison, $537 million with 178 contracts. This is the intelligence that says, okay, this was what matters most to me in my industry. And I want to show you a couple things. I'm not going to show you everything, but to show you how this works, the other part that I want to show you is the number of competitors in the space. Notice that 22% or 13.21% of the dollars had more than 5 competitors. What does that tell you about what's posting to sam.gov? What does that tell you about the power of a relationship with the buyers as well as the program people? What does that tell you about what you need to be doing in this space? And oh, by the way, take a look at this. Right Direction Technology, $111 million, 110 contacts that are buying right from that competitor. So what we want to do is say, who is your competitor? Line you up with the competitor, and then go out and say, look, Joanne and Heather and Bernice and Mario and Michelle and Denise and Ryan, you need to know every one of these people. These people are buying from one of your competitors. They could be buying from you. This is the best targeting you can possibly find for going out after people that are relevant. And no, you can't boil the ocean, because guess what? The ocean is 14,500 buyers in the market. You can't boil that. You can market to them, and you can start shaking the tree and seeing what falls out. And you can also go directly against your competitors. Now, there's other folks that are asking about, hey, what if I want to team with those folks? That's true too. You want to be able to reach out to those people and connect with those people. All of that is a holistic, as Sally was talking about on that market. Does that make sense? Everybody tracking with how that works? So that's the intelligence, and that's market essentials. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Let me see if this.
And Dave, just quickly, I'm asking everyone to ask questions in the Q&A. We're getting quite a few questions in the chat. What happens is we try and answer them, and then another question comes, so it scrolls up. So yeah, just pop your questions in the Q&A. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
That'd be awesome. So my question then is, what you just saw, how many folks are there, right? So what is one federal relationship worth for you? Is it $10,000? Is it $10 million? Doesn't matter. Just fill it out there while you're doing that, and we will wind up getting to the questions. So there you go. Mike is getting in touch with you, Greg, and
Dave,
Directly selling.
Sharice wants to know the website where you just showed that database for April.
That database is totally custom, Sharice, so it doesn't arrive on a website. However, the data behind that is on sam.gov and sam.bid with AMP, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So you'll have access to that as well. I appreciate that. And Mosharif, we're an 8A hub zone company specializing in cyber. Nothing happened in cyber, sorry. Emerging technologies, AI, predictive analytics. We will need help being able to land 8A direct awards. Can you please suggest an approach? You better believe it. I'm going to tell you about approach in just a minute there, Mosharif. And we did that as well. I think we did all the questions. If you're asking questions in the chat, it's hard to catch up with. So let me see if I can do something real quick because I don't see my, there we go. I got that back now. Okay. So next we're going to get into find buyers with the AMP system. I just said sam.bid with AMP is the other place. And I'll show you how this works. So we all want wins, right? Everybody wants it. You want wins, I want wins, and they give us something like sam.gov. How many people are just enamored with the way that sam.gov works? With those opportunities, they put them up there. It is just fan-freaking-tastic, right? Well, if sam.gov worked the way it should, you wouldn't need sam.bid, but it doesn't. So we want to custom monitor. We want to do it by NAICS, by PSC, by keywords, and you want to know first, which means we want to send it to you as soon as it hits so that you can review. Then you can propose, you call up Greg and say, Greg, I want to bid on this thing. And that's how you get to wins. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, just to save you the time of having to log into sam.gov is $89 a month. And it gets you to all of 2% of the opportunities. And you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, Dave, how can that possibly be? Well, it can be, and it is, because if you look at the intelligence, and we've been doing this since 2009, you will see that just right about that 2% rate is how many hit sam.gov. And after you take out the BPAs and the IDIQs that you can't bid on anyway, because they're already awarded, it turns out to be about 88%, which was so coordinated with that intelligence I just showed you. We're 22% we're hitting, right? So here we go. Here's this is the reactive model. You need a way to do proactive. And I'm going to end this poll. Let me see what people said. Ooh, most people are over $1 million. I'm going to share that with everybody, just so everybody can see it. So most everybody's over $1 million, 23 out of the 70. Love it. Appreciate that. So with this, I'm going to close that out. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the reactive side. So you have reactive, now you have proactive. 1 out of 5 is where you want to be. You have the short list is 5, give or take. That's I'll compete all day long if I'm 1 of 5. If I'm any more of that than that, I have to be wired to be in on that because it's built on trust. How does that happen? It happens because you have meaningful conversations with the individuals to build the trust. People don't just buy from people just because you're on SAM. They don't do it. They're not going to do it. And you need the exposure. You need to engage. You need to exhibit the fact that you have the capabilities to deliver, and they look at you as an expert in your field. That's what the setup is for your exposure and your engagement, using capability statements to be able to exhibit that you belong in the space and prove to them that you're an expert. So now we're going to talk about the AMP side of things. AMP is the advanced monitoring platform, and that gives you access to the other components to get to the wins. And for that, wait a second, $4.99 a month. That gets you the other 98%. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, it is 50% off. And there's more, Rafael Marrero. You can save the 50%, but included in that is the $89. And so all of that gets you access to the 100% of the market. Now, this is a different process than what anybody else is talking about, because it's giving you access to the key decision makers at the level when they buy, and they will tell you who the winner is and who the buyer is, so that you have the intersection so that you can reach out and talk to them. So here's how you do it. You go to sam.bid, just type in sam.bid and say, get started, choose the one that's half price. and that'll be the one that's $249 a month. That's the one you want to pick. You can sign up for 7 days for free, and somebody on my team is going to be talking to you about how to set it up and make it work for you, because this is different. It flips it upside down, turns it into a sales expedition, proactive as opposed to reactive, waiting for it to hit sam.gov. Every week, you're going to have 5 to 15 leads, and it enables you to go out after the buyer or the awardee to team up with them. And it also gives you not just 12-month buyer history report. You now have 5 years that you can look at the history, and it gives you by NAICS and PSC. All of this happens on sam.bid. And if you want to know more about it, Zachary, pop your stuff in there in the chat so that people can see what that is. And here is how you use it. So you're going to get a notification that says, hey, Sally just bought this, and oh, here's who she bought from, who's a primary competitor of yours. You reach out to Sally and say, hey, Sally, I saw you just awarded that. I'd love to chat with you about that, because we may be able to assist on some other contracts, or maybe even just give you a first choice for second place, since you don't know us yet. We just want to make sure that you know that we can do this. You're going to be attaching your capability statement that Raphael makes, right, Rafa?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then you're going to be asking Sally to refer you to the program manager, so that you can start to build the relationship based on the recent award, because the other person that knows what needs to be done and needs it done, absolutely, the contracting officer knows the program manager. So you get them, and you're sending them your capabilities, which then helps you get into the green with the program manager. All of this is proactive. Once you see, and when I first said this to Alberto Lugo, you know Alberto, right, Rafa?
Yeah.
I said when I first showed this to Alberto, he says, so Dave, you're telling me I'm a loser because it's an award, you lost. And I said, well, you've been a loser, you just didn't know it. And so he called me names that I can't say here. But then he's like, I can use this to get ahead of the next one. And I was like, that's exactly right.
Right.
Whether you're using the intelligence model, because the intelligence model is what drove this model, to be able to say, what can I do today to talk to somebody about something that's relevant in my space? And that goes to everybody's question about who is the buyer, number one, and then what is the motivation for the buyer to communicate with you and act on your behalf. You've got to create the conversation. So again, go here, sam.bid, click on this one, which is the 249, and that will be able to help you get to the where you want to go. So my question to you, now this is a half selfish question. How do you want to reach buyers? Because now we're in Q3, and that means we have a different, they're already working on what they're going to be buying in September, right this minute. And if you're not injected in there, you're going to need a process to get there. So if you want to do it with a steady plan like sam.bid, that's perfect, because I think you should do both, but that's me. If you have the dollars and the ability to do it, to do pushes out in Q3, you want to start doing that right now to reach out to those folks. And we have methodologies to do that. I'm not going to go in here because we got no time left for that. But I do want to answer a couple of questions. Then we'll get to Peter and how you can finance these things in a minute. I'm actually running out of time for this. So let me see. Print broker will talk. All right, David Lee, good morning. Where can I find no compete contractor or subcontract? Love that, Dave Lee. Schedule a time and start looking at sam.bid with the AMP system. That's exactly how you do it. We're a print broker. Can we still seek win government bids? Yes, you can. And what is socioeconomic certs? Go ahead, Raphael. Tell them what a
socioeconomic certifications are small business certifications that are used by the SBA and other federal agencies to award small business set-asides to companies that are vetted, pre-qualified, and fit into that category. These are veterans, service-disabled veterans, women, economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses, companies located in hub zones, okay, and 8A companies, small disadvantaged businesses. These are the socioeconomic certifications.
Awesome. And that is exactly right. Allison, we don't do the trust pilot thing. If you can talk to anybody here and ask them about me, about what you see is what you get.
That's right.
And so real quick, Greg, can you tell us how contracting officers review proposals and what they look for? Because once you still got to propose, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like what Raphael was saying before about, you know, your capability statement, your business card, your website. You have to look the part. They have to look at you and say, okay, this is somebody that I need to be considering. They have their act together. They look the part. Well, your proposal has to look the part as well. It has to address everything that needs to be that the solicitation requires you to address. It has to be formatted the proper way. You have to have the meet the minimum mandatory requirements as far as past performance. You don't want to get eliminated because of something silly in your proposal, because not only are you not going to win the contract, but you're also making a bad first impression on that customer. Even if you don't win the contract, you want the evaluation team to say this, you know, that you were considered because your proposal was that good and impressive. You were considered. You didn't win it, but you were considered, and you're going to be remembered next time for the right reasons.
And to your point, you want to be responding, especially I like RFIs, right? So that you can start injecting, and you may be able to inject some influence on the scope of work. So the idea there, I love it. And what I love about first of all, you mentioned it, is don't get booted for something stupid. The easiest way to do something stupid is not be on time, right? And then the second easiest way to do something stupid is not be checking all the boxes or making the correct number of copies or whatever is necessary, right?
Right.
And so
cross your T's and dot your I's, right? You got to make sure that
yeah. Don't follow instructions. That's a good way to get kicked out and never considered again.
So for people that don't ask for instruction when they're driving,
yeah,
that could be a trait of some people. I won't mention any names like mine. All right, so I know we're wrapping it up here. So if you need anything from Greg, so what if you like a GSA contract, GSA schedule, also the same thing. If you have a current proposal, a future proposal, you need to get your past performance in order. Real important to have your past performance in order, right, Greg?
It's absolutely me. Yeah, your past performance is everything. It'll tell you. It's going to determine which opportunities you can pursue and which opportunities you can't pursue if you don't meet the minimum mandatory requirements.
Yep. And finally, once you get that contract, I'm sorry about that, Peter. I didn't leave you a whole bunch of time, but go ahead and refresh everybody's mind since you were started up.
I can talk very quickly. Well, once you work with getting your company ready to do business with the federal government, working with Sally and Raphael and Greg, and then you work with David, with ISI, getting you in front of those opportunities, we can help, number one, with giving you financial support letters. If the government comes back and says you qualify, but do you have the financial capability to perform, we can provide that letter for you.
Yep.
The whole
and that's real important.
The whole is very important, and the whole spectrum of companies, whether you're a brand new company or you're an existing company, we are going to lend it to your opportunities rather than your financial statements, which is very, very important. Give an example. I had two guys from the Marine Corps a year ago, right out of the Marine Corps. No past performance, nothing to rely on. We gave them a financial support letter. They won the business. Last year, they did $1.1 million of revenue. That was a brand new company. An existing company this week in Florida, company $2.7 million of revenue, wanted to bid on a $5 million opportunity, a $5 million opportunity. We gave them a financial support letter. They won that opportunity. They never would have won that opportunity without that financial support letter. So we need to talk to all of you that don't have enough money, don't have the financing or the capital to run your business.
And that's not saying you don't know how to do your business. Is that sometimes I can tell you this, banks don't understand federal contracting when it comes to lending money. And if you don't understand that that contract is an asset, if you don't approach it as an asset, they actually look at it as the opposite,
Correct.
as a liability.
You're
So
exactly right, David.
so I know I didn't leave a whole lot of time. Great job, Peter, for keeping that short for us, and we'll get you back up as we did earlier this year. If you need a financial checkup, if you have financing on a recent government award, or if you need payroll, or let's just talk about a discovery meeting. How much does it cost to talk to you, Peter?
Absolutely nothing. We have no
Nothing.
upfront cost.
Nothing. And I appreciate that very much. And I will get to a couple last minute ones. You're welcome, Mike. Love it. And Shelly saying, is the info dropping only from sam.gov or other sites as well? Just curious as how we know we can stop looking and have to keep looking. So the info on sam.bid is only sam.gov, right? That's all that's posting there. Now, the AMP system gets it from everywhere because it's an award. It's looking at what was awarded and saying, okay, it doesn't matter how it came. But the fact of the matter is not much is hitting sam.gov and not much is hitting Gsa Ebuy either. So as a result, that's where the AMP system gets it from everywhere. So you have full access. All right. Are you telling me that we have to buy our way starting at 249 into getting contracts? This gets us from 2% to 20% chances? Yes. The answer is yes. It flips it upside down from 2% reactive to getting to a place where you're positioning for 20%. And it's not buy your way. I'm not sure about that part, but we monitor it so that you can do it. You still got to do the work. So I appreciate that, Anonymous. What do you do when your product requires validation in order for it to be used on an asset? I don't know what that means. Susan, let's take that offline. We'll chat about that. And Mike, does the buyer typically request a financial support letter, or should we offer it with large dollar bids? We have bids on a few that may need it. Mike has that. What do you say to that, Peter?
We have a lot of customers that will submit a letter on a proposal, even if the government doesn't require it. It cannot hurt.
I agree. Anything that gives you a differentiator doesn't hurt, right?
Correct.
I agree. There's a lot of key information in the chat, but attendees are not able to copy paste the content out. Will this information be provided along with the presentation after the session? I think we can manage that, Sally White.
Absolutely. And if you want to record the chat, just click on the 3 dots to the smiley face, and then it will tell you to save the chat. Click on save the chat. It'll tell you to show in the folder, and then it says meeting save to chat. I've just done that. So in the unlikely event you're on an iPhone and cannot do that, I'm going to put my email, and I'm happy to email it to you.
Yep.
Or Dave shuts us down.
Yeah, we'll just do that. And Jeff, AMP can be regional, it can be national or international. Anything you want. You can choose where you want. And Susan's asking a pretty big question. I've been working with NRL and UWC Keyport. I learned they do not have budgets. That's a problem. If it's not budgets, it's not real. Just saying. They socialize in order to get funding for their own jobs. They bill the PEO or PM and mark up the work they do. Absurd, but that's the way. The engineer working with me over 4 years and teaching them about laser business, educating on product. They were told they would never see my product in his career. It's easier to work with a foreign company and getting them up to speed than working with a new supplier, WSB, made in the USA. Susan, we should talk, and you definitely want to talk to Sally. So there's that. I think we did all those.
Yeah, we did it.
We
Nice
did it.
job, everyone. Nice
bit,
job, Raphael, Craig.
A
Peter,
little bit
Dave.
over. We got 1.5 trillion. Let's get out there and start winning this stuff. Doctor, thank you. Great news, great information on the capabilities. I'm sure you got a bunch of folks that want it. Greg Clark,
Yes,
great
sir.
stuff on what you had. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
And,
much.
next, first of all, before we do that, next on April 20th, you're going to be talking about unsolicited proposals, because unsolicited proposals have how many competitors on them, Greg Clark?
No competitors.
0.
Be there.
Love it. That's how you get to the 0 competition. And I'll be doing one on the JNA as well. So you can look them up on GovBrief. Sally White, thank you for the information on LinkedIn, social media, Uber connecting. As usual.
Welcome.
So we appreciate that. Peter, great stuff. Thanks for everything that you do for the folks, being able to help them with letters of supply and all that great information. And Brian wasn't here. He's a loser, but that's okay. And if you want to check out other things on GovBrief, bids and protests, bid and award protests, because you can actually protest before the award too. Come and check out Jason Moy. Good stuff. Unsolicited, as I mentioned, with Greg, me, Sole Source, with Steve Pimpo on doing business with the Navy, and micro purchases with Sean. And reminder, go to sam.bid, 7 days for free. Quick Fuse, 30 days for free. And you can follow ISI Federal on LinkedIn, YouTube. Next session, we got Mr. Greg Clark going to be talking about proposals and letting us know the way to best format those proposals, whatever he's going to talk about. He does the paperwork, and I want to hear about that. And for those of you from the Jewish persuasion, happy Passover. For those of you from the Christian persuasion, happy Easter. And we will see you next month. And thanks for sticking around for so long. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. If I could end this thing, there it is.